Hello children, I am Mrs. Radha Ketkar from DES Secondary School, Pune. In the last session, we were discussing about space missions. Let us continue the discussion further. Last time I told you one story about Kalpana Chawla. I will tell you one more story about her today and then we will start our discussion. When Kalpana was in school, there was some topic going on related to algebra. Sets, you must have heard about the topic. And the teacher was trying to give some example related to null set. And the teacher said that for null set, we can take example like woman astronaut from India. So till that time, there was no example of woman astronaut from Indian origin. And that's why obviously the set was a null set. But Kalpana replied, "You never know, ma'am. It might happen that in future we will have somebody from India who becomes the astronaut. Rest is history." So let us start our discussion about space missions. Last time we were discussing about geosynchronous orbits. So what do you mean by geosynchronous orbits? They are nothing but Earth-centered orbits with an orbital period that matches exactly with the Earth's rotation time. Okay, so that is going to be 23 hours, 56 minutes and 4 seconds. Okay, so you can see the same thing in the animation which is shown over here. So you can see that the satellite is pointing exactly at one location. Okay, satellites can have any inclination. The key difference to geostationary orbit is the fact that they lie on the same plane as that of the equator. Okay, so geostationary and geosynchronous, they are going to have same period, that is of 23 hours, 56 minutes and 4 seconds. But you can see that there is a difference in the orbit. Okay, so there will be some inclination for geosynchronous, but geostationary, that is going to be exactly in the plane of the equator. So that will make it geostationary. You can see it is always parked over the equator. Also in the first picture you can see the inclination. Okay, angle of inclination, that is going to differentiate between geosynchronous orbit and geostationary orbit. Now the next thing that we are going to talk about is nothing but SWAYAM. You must have heard the name. So you can see the picture of a satellite that is nothing but a CubeSat because it is cube shaped, that was developed by undergraduate students of COEP Pune. We are really proud of these students. SWAYAM, that was weighing 990 grams and was developed under the guidance of ISRO in January 2015. The structural design of the satellite, design of its electronic and control systems, as well as the manufacturing of the satellite was carried out by students. More than 200 students worked on this project. The satellite was launched by ISRO on June 22nd, 2016. And the satellite vehicle which was used was Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle or PSLV, and this happened at Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota, India. The satellite was placed in low Earth orbit, that is nothing but LEO, around the Earth at a height of 515 km.
3, 2, 1, 0, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of normal, 7, 8, 9, less than
perfect liftoff as usual for PSLV. You can see in all glory PSLV negotiating the wings and
History has been created today. We have dared to reach out into the unknown and have achieved the near impossible.
Now let us discuss the structure of the launch vehicle PSLV, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. This launch vehicle is used to take the satellites and the required payload to space. Payload is all the kind of material that we want to take in space. Launch vehicles always have stages. The fuel forms the major weight of the launch vehicle. Hence, when the fuel in the first stage is exhausted, the empty fuel tank is going to be detached and that will be allowed to fall in the sea or on the unpopulated area. So this is going to reduce the weight of the launcher. Now it can gain the greater speed which is required. So PSLV is also the example of multi-stage satellite launch vehicle. It is also developed by ISRO. PSLV is a medium lift launcher which can reach to geosynchronous transfer orbit, lower Earth orbit, polar sun synchronous orbit. All the operations of PSLV are controlled from Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. PSLV has 4-stage system with alternate, solid and liquid fuel rocket stages. The first and third stage, as you can see, they have the solid fuel, and second and fourth stage have the liquid fuel. It can carry the weight of around 3,20,000 kg. PSLV also launched Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan 1. Also Astrosat, which was the first Indian dedicated space observatory. Now you can see the picture of the space shuttle. Space shuttle, that is NASA space shuttle, was the world's first reusable spacecraft. It can launch like a rocket and return to the Earth like a glider. It was designed to carry large payloads like satellites into orbit. The last shuttle to fly was Atlantis in July 2011. The space shuttle's largest contribution was building the International Space Station, which is there in orbit and has carried out hundreds of science experiments on human health, engineering, about microgravity, and many more. It has important contribution in launch and service of Hubble Space Telescope and also launching numerous other satellites. The space shuttle has 3 main parts. The first one is solid rocket boosters, you can see on either side. Then second one, you can see the orange colored or orange rust colored external fuel tank. It has that specific color. Earlier NASA had tried painting it white, but that unnecessarily increased the weight of that fuel tank. Okay, so then after that they stopped doing it because that was very expensive and also added the weight. Okay, so now it is in its original color, that is a kind of foam which is helpful in keeping the fuel at a particular temperature. And the third part, you can see, that is nothing but orbital, which looks something like a plane. Okay, and that is going to go in the space. Then what are solid rocket boosters? They operate for first 2 minutes. Okay, so once the flight starts, they are going to operate for first 2 minutes and they are going to provide the required thrust which is needed to get into the orbit. The solid rocket boosters are then going to separate, okay, so that the weight can be reduced, and afterwards they are going to fall in ocean. So using ships, they can be recovered and again they can be reused also. The fuel is ammonium perchlorate. The fuel which is used is nothing but ammonium perchlorate along with the combination of aluminum. Iron oxide also will be used there. So that is going to act as a catalyst. The second part you can see is a very big one, that is like a 15-story building. Okay, that is nothing but external tank. So this part will not be reused. It contains compartments for liquid hydrogen and oxygen. And when the fuel is used up, this tank will be separated. Okay, so this is also going to fall down and then partially it will be burnt in air. Third part, which is important for us, that is nothing but the orbiter. The orbiter is the important part which will go in space with the crew, with the satellites and with other required payload.
We are transferring to orbiter internal power at this time. Discovery is now running off its 3 onboard fuel cells. Coming up on a go for auto sequence start.
Okay, let's go for auto sequence start.
And we have a go for auto sequence start. Discovery's onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions. T-minus 17 seconds and counting. 15, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Go for main engine start. Main engine start. 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station, paving the way for future missions beyond.
Completes its roll. The shuttle now heads down, wings level to the 8.5-meter line of orbit. This view from a camera on the external tanks.
So talking about other objects which are there in space. So we are always curious about moon. It is the closest astronomical object from the Earth. So if you just think about speed of light, and if you can travel with that speed of light, it will take just 1 second to reach the moon. So in that manner, we can say that it is the closest object to us, but we don't have any such spacecrafts which can travel with that speed. Okay, so whatever is known, so we know that the shortest time which was taken to reach the moon was 8 hours and 36 minutes. Now let us discuss about escape velocity. What do you mean by escape velocity? We have heard different terms like speed and velocities. So here we need a particular level of speed to escape gravity. Okay, so you can see the picture. If you are standing at point A, if you are just throwing one ball upwards, then you know that after some time it is going to fall down on the earth. If you throw it with little higher speed, it will travel more distance, but after little more time it will fall on the earth. So this will continue, right? So even if you throw it very fast, after some time it is going to fall down on the earth. So then how these space shuttles or how these satellites can escape this particular gravitational influence and go in the space? So how these space shuttles can escape the gravitational field of the earth and can go in the space? Okay, so for that we will have to achieve very, very high speed. And how much that speed should be? It has to be 11.2 kilometer in 1 second. So if you can throw that ball with the speed of 11.2 kilometer per second, then definitely you can throw the ball which goes in space, right? And obviously we know that is not possible for us, but we do this in every space mission. Okay, so you can see here that every time the object falls down, but if you achieve that velocity, which is known as escape velocity, then you can escape the gravitational field. So what is escape velocity? For any object going to outer space, it needs to overcome. So what do you mean by escape velocity? For any object that is going in outer space, it needs to overcome the influence of gravitational force of the earth. And to achieve this, the velocity of the object has to be greater than the escape velocity of the earth. Okay, so what is V escape? So that is nothing but under the root sign 2 times gm upon r. What is G? G is the gravitational constant, 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square. What is the mass? That is nothing but 6 into 10 raised to 24 kg. Radius 6.4 into 10 raised to 6. So we will substitute all these values. 2 into G, that is capital G, multiplied by capital M. So multiply under the root sign, you can see 2 multiplied by 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 11 multiplied by 6 into 10 raised to 24 divided by R, that is nothing but 6.4 into 10 raised to 6. Okay, so if we manage these indices, you can see in the numerator you are having 10 raised to minus 11, 10 raised to 24, right? So you can get the answer for it. Then in the denominator you are having 6, that is to be subtracted. Okay, and when you carry out this, you will get the answer, that is nothing but 11.18 into 10 raised to 3 meter per second, or 11.18 kilometer per second. Okay, so this is the escape velocity which you need to achieve. Thus, the spacecraft which needs to escape Earth's gravity should have a speed of 11.2 kilometer per second, or 11.18 into 10 raised to 3 meter per second. So this is nothing but escape velocity. You can see one example based on the same logic. If mass of a planet is 8 times the mass of the Earth and its radius is twice the radius of the Earth, what will be the escape velocity for that planet? Okay, so we can see here mass of the planet, that is capital M. We are taking it as 8 times mass, and radius of the planet is 2 times radius. Okay, so we will substitute those values. You can see escape velocity is equal to under the root sign 2gm upon r. Okay, so 2g remains as it is. In place of m, we will substitute 8m. In place of r, we will substitute 2r. 2 is common in numerator and denominator, both will be cancelled. Okay, so what remains, we will just convert it into little different way. Okay, so you can see we have converted it to 4 into 2gm upon r. Okay, so here now we can substitute the value of the escape velocity. Okay, so that we know 11.2 that we have calculated earlier, right? So if you take it outside the root sign, you will be getting 2 times 11.2, that is nothing but 22.4 kilometer per second approximately, right? So this is how you can calculate the escape velocity for that imaginary planet. Now we are going to talk about moon missions. You can see the picture of Chandrayaan-1 here, how that particular orbit was achieved. First missions to solar system objects were the moon missions. So far, moon missions are carried out by USA, Soviet Union, European countries, China, Japan, and also India. Different missions were carried out so as to study moon surface, gravity, density, radiation, and many other things. Some spacecrafts even landed on the moon and collected samples. USA carried out moon missions from 1962 to 1972, and some of them were manned missions. In 2008, ISRO successfully launched Chandrayaan-1 and placed it into an orbit around the moon. The most important discovery was presence of water on the surface of moon. Mars missions. After moon, the astronomical object which is close to us is Mars. So Mars missions are also important. They are tough, hence half of the missions were not successful. ISRO's performance in Mars missions is remarkable. Mangalyaan, made by ISRO using minimum expenses, was launched in November 2013. It obtained useful information about the surface of Mars and its atmosphere.
Mangalyaan, India's first mission to Mars, left the Earth's orbit on December 1, 2013. When it reaches the red planet on September 24th next year, it would have covered a distance of 780 million kilometers in 10 months. But here is an intriguing question. Mangalyaan was launched from Sriharikota on November 5th and kept orbiting the Earth for 25 days before setting off for Mars. Why? After all, NASA's MAVEN mission, which took off 15 days after Mangalyaan, went straight to Mars. This is how it worked. On November 5th, the PSLV put Mangalyaan in a low elliptical orbit with a minimum distance from the Earth of about 240 kilometers and a maximum distance of 24,000 kilometers. Technically, the minimum distance is called the perigee and the maximum the apogee. When the satellite is placed in orbit, It does not require additional fuel or energy. It keeps on moving, much like the Earth moves around the Sun. But at what speed does the satellite move? Well, this is determined by two things: distance from the Earth and the shape of the orbit. The closer the satellite is to Earth, the faster its speed as the gravitational pull is higher. As far as the shape of the orbit is concerned, the more elliptical the orbit, the higher is the speed of the satellite. Now let's see how ISRO used two principles to increase the speed of the satellite. According to the first principle, when the satellite is at the perigee, its speed is at its highest. So if you give the satellite a little push when it is there, you can make it move a long distance. When the satellite is at its perigee, the mission controller in Bangalore often fire the motor on board to push the satellite into a higher, more elongated orbit, thus increasing the speed of the satellite significantly. Between November 5th and November 16th, ISRO made 5 orbit-raising maneuvers, increasing the apogee to 1,93,000 kilometers, which is 8 times the height at which the satellite was first placed. This pushed the speed of the satellite to nearly 11 kilometers per second, which is close to the escape velocity. So all that the mission controller needed to do on December 1st was to burn the motor one more time and push the satellite out of the Earth's sphere of gravity into the Sun's gravitational influence. Since the Earth is orbiting around the Sun at a speed of 1 lakh kilometers per hour, Mangalyaan exited the Earth's sphere of influence with the same speed, plus the additional push given by the motor. The new orbit around the Sun that Mangalyaan will follow is called the transfer orbit or the Hanuman orbit. At some point, this orbit will intersect with the orbit of Mars. The timing of the mission has been carefully planned to ensure that when Mangalyaan reaches the point of intersection, Mars itself will be there to meet it. The satellite will then fire its onboard motor, but this time in reverse direction to slow down its speed, so that Mars can take Mangalyaan into its own gravitational sphere of influence. Mangalyaan will then start orbiting Mars for about a year. So, if anybody ever asks you, why is it that traveling to Mars takes only as much fuel as traveling to the Moon does, even though Mars is about 100 times more distant than the Moon, you know the answer. Most of the fuel we need is just to launch the satellite. The rest of the journey is mostly courtesy of gravity. If only we could travel with such ease down here.
Now we can see some other missions. Other missions are carried out for studying the other planets. We also want to observe what are asteroids. We also want to study comets, to collect the comet dust. Different missions are carried out to understand the origin and the evolution of solar system. Now let us talk about India and space technology. What we have achieved so far, you can see Indian launch vehicles, PSLV, GSLV for satellites of weight up to 2500 kg. Then INSAT and GSAT we have already discussed. Series are actively working in the field of communication, television, broadcasting, meteorology, telephone and internet services. EduSat, this is a series that is specially working for the field of education. IRS, we have discussed it earlier, series that is going to monitor and manage natural resources and disasters. IRNSS, satellites can locate exact latitude and longitude of any place. Now, whenever we are doing so much in space missions, space science, but at the same time, we have to think about the space debris which is created. Every time we are launching things in space, this is going to create some amount of garbage in space. Whenever we are launching anything, we are creating garbage in space. So, in addition to functional satellites, there are some other objects which are revolving around the Earth. They can be some non-functional satellites, some parts. Okay, sometimes they are the parts of the launcher which are detached during the launching process. Debris is generated due to collision of satellites with some other objects. So it is said that there are around 2 crore different pieces of such garbage. They are revolving around the earth. So if this continues, then after few years, it will not be possible for us to send the satellites in the space. So this is going to be very harmful for the working satellites and for the future satellites. So this is essential to manage this kind of debris. So there are different efforts which are being made to find a solution for this very important problem. Can see different space research organizations. The names which we cannot forget: Vikram Sarabhai, led to Foundation of Physical Research Laboratory, Chairman of Indian National Committee for Space Research. The first satellite launch center was established at Tumba. Launch of first satellite of India, and very important role in establishing ISRO. Another name, very important, Rakesh Sharma, first Indian to travel to space, went into space with 2 Russian astronauts under the joint program, stayed in space for 8 days, and when he was asked how India looks from space, his answer was, Sare jahan se acha. So children, we have studied in detail about space missions. I hope it will inspire many to learn more about space. So keep exploring, keep learning. Thank you so much.